You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye.
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?
Weekend at Bernie's.
I lived here outside of Paia, and I saw this object moving behind Baldwin Hill, which is 6 miles out. It could have been further out, but it wasn't. It was hovering above the cane fields. I thought it was a water truck until I saw that it came behind the hill and was way above my viewpoint on the fields. I called my girlfriend at the time out. We took a video of it. The video is somewhere here. I don't know if I can share it. Maybe I can. It's not allowing me to. Shoots. But I have a video of this white orb object, and I've flown over this site. When you fly into Maui, you fly in from the north into Kahului, which is this direction. I fly over Haiku all the time. There's no massive 1 kilometer white building sitting in Haiku or in the hills behind it. So what was I looking at? Anyway, this is something we were talking about in the green room. Maybe I can share the video image. Wait, it should already be there. It's not going to let me show it. Damn it.
Hooray!
Yeah, we're back. I just gave my little speech on my Maui experience.
Nice. Awesome. Do you want to continue or are you finished?
I was going to say I can't share the video. I was trying to share the video so people can see it. Yeah. So in this video, you see this white object here in the center. So this is coming behind Baldwin Hill, and it's moving very slowly to the left. There's no building in the background that's that long. I thought it was a water truck above the cane fields, but as you can see, my vantage point of the cane fields, that's well above it. I called my girlfriend in to look at it, and she was a little flabbergasted, but it keeps moving downward, as you see here. It's moving down. This object is easily 1 kilometer or half a kilometer in length. And so that's what I was trying to show in that last photo of where I'm standing taking this video versus where that object actually is. It's huge. If you can cut the video and show the other screen again.
Oh, there's it. Going
yeah. So So I'm standing here taking the video, and this object is moving behind. This is Baldwin Hill outside of Haiku, and this object came from behind it. And in the video, you can kind of see it moving from behind the hill, but it's really shitty fucking technology. Sorry, back in 2090 or 2009. Sorry, 2090. We're not quite there yet, but we'll get there. It's still going to be shitty technology. I agree, but it's a huge object, and there's nothing there. I've flown over Kahului so many times. There's nothing there. There's no building. There's nothing. And so I thought it could be coming from behind the hill here, or it could be much further back, way up in the hills, which was my alternative position for it. And so this is my vantage point all the way to what we're looking at in that video. Just to say.
And good reference for
I
it.
I did a you can do a flight log and military flight log on Hawaii of what they're launching and where they are and where they're performing, and none of this came up in any of those searches. So
right, so unidentified.
This is your common Tic Tac. It's this big white tubular shape,
and right by a U.S. military base in Hawaii where they would.
Haleakala is up on the hill. Maui's the only place that you don't ever see a physical base. Oahu is all Marines. Kauai is all nuclear naval submarine technology, and Big Island is also all Marine. So you got, Navy on all three islands, but Maui is like, where are these people? But they're all stuck under the mountain at Haleakala because that's SDI, that's Space Command, that's Star Wars right there.
And this is a huge, huge piece of evidence that is supportive of exactly my thesis that we'll be presenting with Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist, tomorrow. And Han's an eyewitness with extra evidence of these tubular UFO, like that you described as a giant one, and Tic Tac, which in the area of a U.S. base out of not in the lower 48, and the perfect spot where they would be experimenting with and trying out this technology as they develop it. And you said 2009, so that's after the.
No, this was 2011. This was 11/11. 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's even better in that area. That
A
it's
weird date, but it was. So.
And a crucial date that it makes it between, I believe it was 2004 when the Tic Tac Nimitz encounters were recorded and experienced, and the 2014 MH370 Orbs video and action, and that it was this right here that you saw and reported was a very large streaked, or
it was considering the distance that it was at, I would consider it being very large.
Well, yeah, and I'm saying very large compared to what were the Tic Tacs, and larger than the Tic Tacs and larger than the Orbs.
Was it a Navy dirigible? I have no idea.
No. What it was is it was this plasma, and it was between the second and third generations of this technology that is a combination of aerogel as well as this plasma radiation orb stuff that is the first generation of it being the Foo Fighters from the time of World War II, that the Germans, using a specific constant radiant beam, were able to trigger and create, and that then the Americans with the lasers and the British with the lasers were able to start moving them and doing more. And then once they put it into an aerogel, it stabilizes it and creates it. And you see the elongated larger part because this is as they were starting to integrate the AI control of it, and as it moves, it's why it's in this longer filaments extending out. And then the final product, and when they're adding in the HARP ionospheric radiation projections into them, where they get the full huge actual ball lightning plasma orb aspects of it, and to the point where they developed it with the AI controlling all three features of those technologies that are creating it, and then being able to move them and control them around. And what I am putting or proposing that we see in the Ashton Forbes MH370 videos, it is not actually a wormhole. Tragically, it is more of the decomposition, mini black holes, essentially, as the three orbs collapse back into each other and dissipate into absolutely nothing, just like ball lightning does. But with the three of them together, it expanded out as it sucked them in,
and the craft, yeah,
that sucked in and destroyed the craft into essentially nothing. Why we see it, and why there was no evidence of it.
Well, there's debris that washed up on certain shores, supposedly, but
right, supposedly, and like just couple small little pieces that might have been outside of that area or whatever the heck. that it kind of adds to what we've found.
Well, this goes into what I've talked about with my experience in Egypt in 2018, and so I was there March 2018, and we're on the top of the Nile cruise. I'm hanging out with Brian Forrester, his wife, and there's like 10 of us. We're, having a few beers and having great conversations. And Irene goes, look. And so this orb flies by the boat, and behind it are two F-14s. And about a minute later, another orb flies by, and it's just bobbing along to say, hey, here we are. And Irene has actual video footage of this, which is amazing. But at the same time in Oregon, where I live here, there was a drone or something that passed by PDX, which is where all the F-35s are now stationed. They used to be stationed in Southern Oregon at Klamath Falls. Now they're all at Portland Airport, which is interesting because, man, they fly over my house I live near the airport. They fly over my house all the time. And they took off and scrambled north toward Fort Lewis to try and catch up with this thing. That was their whole mission. How fast can you go to catch up with this thing? And my first thought was, this is drone technology that we're training our pilots on to engage a zero gravity or high gravity envelope and see what they're capable of. Because the drones, there's nobody piloting them. So they can do zero G's gravity force.
They don't have a biologic in it.
They don't have any biological entities in them, and so they can do these high G-force maneuvers that our pilots can't. So why can't we train our pilots against these machines, assuming that we will be attacked by similar machines from foreign governments in the near future? And whether or not our pilots are up to this is interesting. Well, Top Gun Maverick kind of touched on this. All of your pilots will be replaced by technology was kind of the theme of that, even though Tom Cruise proved that he could manipulate the canyon and pull the maneuver off. That's regardless of the point. The original aspect of that was, hey, AI is going to replace you. Well, Stealth came out a long time before that with Jamie Foxx and was kind of the same idea. You had a UCAV, which was an unmanned aerial operative military vehicle, and it went rogue, and they had to track it down over North Korea or something like this. I can't remember the whole movie, but Jessica Biel, and she bails out, and they have to rescue her. But this whole movie was about how these AI drones could go rogue. And so here we are, 15 years before this being told this, and all of a sudden, in Top Gun Maverick, it kind of comes up again. Oh, all you will be replaced by drones. And so it beggars the question, are we training our pilots in or out of the envelope of dealing with drone technology?
And that it is human drone technology specifically.
Yes.
And a huge part of why my thesis is of this and why I know this to be the fact is that there was a whistleblower that came forward with me and Jeremy named Joshua Bertrand that was presenting evidence that it was this aerogel, and he was saying that it was Chinese drones that they were activating this plasma and stuff, and that might be true, but it's that the Americans also had it. They had it first, and why they used it on MH370, it was a private but public demonstration to China, and that on that MH370,
say, who's on the flight?
why it was on that flight specifically was there were the 20 Chinese superconductor engineers or semiconductor, engineers that were defecting on their way to China. And what better way than we can decompose them into a plasma mini black hole than that?
So shortly after that, there was a flight that went down over Russia that
MH17.
Yeah,
over
all the people
Ukraine.
that were involved with communicable disease discoveries, and so
Yep.
that also was an interesting one. Yeah,
And that's interesting that you say
that
that.
one has been disappeared from the
Oh,
from
I'm
because
well aware of that.
everybody focuses on this flight from Malaysia, and they were both
There
Malaysian
was
flights.
two Malaysian flights in a
Yeah.
row, and it was a
The other
giant
one
tie-off.
nobody talks about, and that's
Well,
it's
let's
like
talk
it was
about.
all communicable disease experts were on that flight, and it was shot down
I
somewhere.
was unaware of that part of it, but I'm going to give a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
more information of it I am aware about, and that's 100% was also a public
for a
media
brief moment, and
mockingbird
then it
psyop. It
disappeared
was
and
it was
gone.
projecting though evil Russia, and it was really the Ukraines. It was proven it was a Ukrainian SAM that shot it down, but it was done to make the blame against Russia
Well,
because
not
it
only
was
that,
in Ukrainian area.
it was riddled with bullet holes when they found it, so it wasn't just a MiG or
Sam
Sam that shot
missile.
it down.
Yep, shot. Yeah,
It
it
was
was
also
scared.
shot down. Yeah.
And the radar the Russians published actually proved that there was also a Ukrainian fighter jet behind it at its time of shoot down. So what you just said adds even more to proving it was Ukrainians that shot it down. And a false flag. Why it was the false flag was to
It
blame
was.
the
I think
Russians.
it was a big misdirection also from the other flight because
Yeah,
they happened
of course.
around
It was all three. It was all three, Hans. It's that so for the public perception, yes, it was the misdirection of taking off of the MH370. It was also an attack against Malaysia itself because their president at that time was because they're Islamic was coming out publicly trying to go against Israel in the human rights courts, and as well like now that you said there were these all of these pathogen doctors on that I was unaware of, but an extra
Yeah,
part
they
that
were
I
mostly African diseases, Ebola, malaria, all these things. They were like the experts in HIV studies as well. Yeah,
okay.
a lot of them
The
ended up on
HIV
the flight.
studies is interesting because that could be one part of what was engineered into the we will not say that caused the lockdowns, and were all of those people potentially the ones that could have originally worked on that project. Interesting speculation.
No comment there. Anyway,
Yes, but what I will comment on is that I read a whole bunch of reports at the time by a bunch of Russian, I believe it was like generals, as well as like a couple of their military journalists that had gotten to the crash site, like the recovered area that because it was the Donbass, the rebels against Ukraine that were able to like that, and then the Russian military that were first on the scene all reported how extremely strange and disgusting, like all the bodies were in states of decomposition already.
that could not have been natural. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and like that they were already long dead and rotting, and that originally I had always suspected was like, oh, did they put the MH370 people into it and dead? But no, that
No,
was
it's
why
whatever
they
the
that was the
technology is
belief.
being used, rapidified or rapid expanded that
Yes,
decomposition.
what you're saying exactly. It was that they had been infected or whatever the heck happened with the diseases they were working on. Something happened, and that is why they were dead and diseased, and why they needed the excuse of them all being killed. But it was also misdirection again from that MH370 that creates the speculation that was in my mind of was it the MH370 people, but no, it was not. It was they were dead from whatever freaking diseases they had been working on. Clearly,
Interesting.
that
Never considered that one, but yes,
could be right,
could
or
be.
right, either that or they had been dead, been unalived by whoever Black Ops then was responsible for whatever they were running on, and weren't freaking kept frozen until they were put in the airplane, one or the other, right? Either way, it was reported they were decomposed for a while when the plane went down. All right, that's dark. Let's move back to the light. And thank you, my friends. Always appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Much love. Until we meet again next week for Woo Woo episode 43.
Jeez, has it been that many?
Right? This is 42.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just Bernie!
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?